Oh, whoa. Hey, what's up? I think we got it. Hey, everybody. Jenny. This is Sage Hayes with Hive Live and the Hive Directory. Totally psyched. Stayed in Portland tonight because there's a snowstorm. And I thought, who else would be so cool to interview here? And my first thought, and I'm going to just tell you a quick story about why we're here, is my first thought was, there's this store that's been around that just transitioned into ownership with these amazing queer activists. And they posted this picture recently that said, hey, we're closed, we're out marching. And I saw that picture and I just thought, that is so badass. Like the store closed because they were out. I don't know, what march was it?
It was the Portland Women's March. So Jenny was in Augusta. I was here in Portland. It was my day to watch the store. And I said, well, this is how I'm watching the store today.
And everyone who was working went, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. So that's how we're here today. I mean, I love Mea so much, and I'm just meeting you kind of for the first time, and we have a great history. So I just want to welcome you all. We're going to be talking to Mea and Jennie Tavares, amazing people, so much more than business owners, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that tonight. So welcome, and go ahead and just maybe just give us a little intro of who you guys are, a little snapshot.
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Jennie Tavares. Recently changed my name because we got married.
Aw.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
So new name. I was born in Bangor, Maine. My family's from Rhode Island.
Holla.
Figured out. Yeah.
Roadie Pride. Sorry.
Right. But they moved up here right before I was born. So born in Bangor, Maine. I was raised a little bit north of there on a little farm, and then moved to Bangor and went to high school. So I'm a Mainer through and through. I traveled for a little while after leaving Bangor, and then came back to Maine in 2012 to work on the gay marriage campaign, and I led the Lewiston office and lived in Lewiston for a little while. Yeah. And then I was just called to come back to Portland and go back to school. I had lived here a little bit before. And came back to Portland, started going to school for holistic health and psychology, and I was already teaching yoga at the time, and just kind of, after traveling for years and years, decided that I wanted to have roots somewhere, and so that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to plant roots and meet people and start cool projects, and I fell in love and found the dog of my dreams as well. And now we have
double.
Right.
So it's I went from living really fast and moving all over the place to really creating a home and being here and just trying to do what I can and do the best that I can at it. I had been working on political campaigns for a long time and decided to take a break, and decided that I really needed to approach activism from a grounded place in myself, and realized that I didn't really know what that meant. And so for the past 5 or 6 years, I've been focusing on healing arts and yoga and Reiki, and I got sober and healing myself. And Mea and I had conversations, just a year ago, where we were like, I don't feel compelled to go out and act as much. I want to act in, and I want to focus on involution and working here. And now lately, that's all been thrown to the curb. And I'm grateful for the past few years that I've charged up, because I'm back to wanting to act in big ways, and still using those tools of coming back to center and checking myself and reviewing what I'm doing and making sure it's in line with my values, but also going out there and getting work done. So that's me. I'm sober, I'm a yogi, I'm an activist, I'm now a wife, I'm a Mainer.
That's so great.
To sum it all up.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of questions I want to jump in and ask, but we'll get to those in a little while. That was a great intro. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for being on. Yeah, cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Mea Tavares. I also grew up in Maine. I was born in Wiscasset by a midwife. So, I started out like, really, I started out a fan of the healing arts.
That's amazing. Shout out to the midwives.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, now more than ever, like radical, grounded, local, holistic care for anybody who wants to have a baby.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So I grew up in Mid-Coast, Maine, so Damariscotta, which is a tiny little town between Portland and Bangor. I came out there as queer when I was 15 years old, and I met you about a week later.
You had a lot more hair.
I did. I had a lot more hair and a different name, and I was confused and in high school.
Yeah,
and,
weren't we all?
Right, and listening to a lot of Ani DeFranco, and
Amen.
it was good. And so, so I got my start, like for me, like activism and identity were paired immediately because it was like, okay, this is how I am, and people who are like me, because I had to start with where I was, like in the world, face a disparate experience, and part of me reconciling my identity is doing the work out there. So, so I, from a young age, I was doing speaking commitments all over Maine and trying to live my own life and navigate. So I was like, trying to make things right in the world and trying to balance a life that I'm now at 32, like trying to sort out. And so I came to Portland when I was 18 because, anybody who lives anywhere other than Portland in Maine and who is queer, comes to Portland.
Or maybe Lewiston.
Yeah, totally.
I'm gonna shout out to the Lewiston outright.
Bless Lewiston outright.
But yeah, Portland's
Penny Sargent.
Penny Sargent.
Still there.
Amazing. Oh my God. Phenomenal. I mean, that is
Amazing.
So Maine, 20 years later.
20 years later.
Yeah.
She's still
People
there.
People are still in their same thing. It's anyways, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. And at the time, there were outright. There was Coastal Outright and Down East and
Outright, just for you all, is a gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered questioning youth agency that was really big in Portland.
Oh my gosh.
And is now also, it's still going.
Still in Portland and under the guidance of Sarah Osgood.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Doing really amazing work.
Absolutely. And Outright, what I loved about it is it coupled identity with activism.
That's
from
right.
the very start. And I feel
That's right.
like I couldn't have, that's where I learned my template for everything I'm doing in adulthood. And so I did that. And I went to school. I said, what am I doing? I want to be of service, and I'm not studying something that I'm going to be of service. And I was always trying to reconcile, because I started training in Reiki at the age of 12. So I had, I had the pieces that I'm now working with as an adult, but I also had to have walk the path to get there, to say this is what you're supposed to be doing. And
I think that's such a good point. Even though a lot of us have a sense of I'm gonna be of service, and I have this deeply intuitive sense really young, there is just so much about the experience and walking the path and going through your own cycles of healing that are so informative to bring us to claiming whatever it is we do and deepening into it.
And expanding our ability to be of service, because if you've walked something, you can understand it.
Totally.
That's part of why I felt so grateful about being a trans person, because I went on hormones, went off hormones, experienced the way male privilege is handed to people who look like men, understood what it was like to go through menopause and male puberty and and all of these different things, and so being able to understand what the lived experience of people who are seen as male in our culture, or who are going through menopause, it makes me better at listening.
You got a lot of frame of references.
I got some frames of reference
from part of your trans journey.
Exactly.
And speaking of pronouns,
they. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, for sure. And
she, her, hers.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
She, he, they. for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, for
Yeah.
me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all true.
Yeah.
So you know, I did a lot of this. Jenny traveled a lot of physical places. I traveled a lot of like mental places. And I was always in Portland, but I was trying on all these different roles, and you know, it was working with, you know, Maine Youth Action Network and being of service that way, or it was you know, doing a health sciences degree and trying to like understand the human experience that way, and ultimately getting sober. So we got sober together.
Oh, wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, little over 2.5 years ago,
Wow.
we made a decision, and it was a completely separate decision. We made it for ourselves, and we sat across the table with one another, and said at the same time, "I think I want to get sober."
Wow.
About a week apart.
Yeah.
I had to finish all the beer in my house first. And then I did.
So our sobriety dates are like a few days apart.
Which was
Jenny
good.
had
I
a
think
It
it
was
was
a couple more days.
Yeah, I think it made it like, so we each had our day, and I think that was good, and what we needed ultimately, but yeah.
Together but separate.
Yeah, beautiful. That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up here. I studied polarity therapy. I trained in the 3 degrees of Western Reiki, and then only about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I found very traditional Japanese Reiki in a lineage that had been preserved in Japan. And that changed my entire world, and it changed my entire perspective. And it not so much taught me it taught me the form I didn't know, but it touched things I did know. And so that's part of what I do now here. So now, you know, we both ended up here on this couch and in this space.
Right. And like, let's just say, what is this space?
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't. Folks who are tuning in from, I don't know, wherever, may not know Portland and may have never been here before. So we're sitting on the couch at Arcana in Portland, Maine, and this place is.
Yeah. We are Arcana Healing Arts. We're at 81 Market Street, so right in the heart of the Old Port, and we do everything here. But we it's kind of broken down into 3 sections. We have a shop up front, and we sell all kinds of different esoteric tools, so things that healers can use. So we've got books, we've got essential oils, we've got bath products, we've got stones, we've got jewelry, we've got dowsing rods and sage and palo santo and things like that. We're trying to get more herbs in here as well, more medicine.
Great.
And then in the back of the house over there, which you can't really see, there's 2 treatment rooms. So we do massage, Reiki, polarity, Ayurvedic treatments, access consciousness bars, reflexology,
crystal body work.
All kinds of stuff. It's like something for everyone. And then we just built a yoga studio, so we're going to start doing yoga classes, about 15 a week.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And there's the coolest mural too. Maybe I'll take a picture of it and send it out to you guys back there.
My little sister has been painting it, and I've been her assistant. She's a really talented painter from Bangor, Maine as well. So
yeah, it's real sweet.
Yeah.
It's been beautiful to see them like create and to make this space to, you know, it's like doing energy work on a space, really. You know, to like open up. We took down a wall, and that's really what we're trying to do here. You know, it's like just take down walls.
Stop putting walls up.
Right?
Take
like,
the goddamn walls down. Yeah,
and
sorry
do some
for
yoga
the swear.
there.
And do some yoga. Stretch it out. Open it up. Beautiful. Well, congratulations on that. And it's pretty recent, the past like month or 2, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We haven't started classes yet. We start February 19th. So.
Amazing. Okay, great. So 15 classes a week. Look at all the likes you're getting. It's so cute. They're like, woohoo!
All right.
This is an amazing resource here in Portland. You know, there's so many questions I want to ask, and you know, one of the first ones I want to ask is and we already touched on this a little bit, and we talked about this a little bit before the interview, is that you put up a sign that said, "Hey, I'm going to March, and we're closed." And then there's also a sign on your window that says, "Love always wins." Like, huge sign on their store. I mean, we are literally in the heart of Portland, Maine, and so you cannot not see this sign. And they're using looks like every part of their space to promote love and justice and healing arts. And so could you just talk a little bit about that as as new business owners, and like what your perspective is on your responsibility, and like what are you guys aspiring to?
Yes. Yes. So, when we decided to make this work, to come to sign up for this adventure and come on as owners, this space was, it was potentially looking at closing. And it was such a beautiful space with such potential for people to come and find healing and connection. And we said, okay, we have to make this happen. But once we signed up for that, we said, wait a minute, like, what is this? This is an amazing opportunity. And what it became was a responsibility to use what we have to promote, like you were saying, like real healing, like capital H healing. And that can look like a table session, or that can look like finding yourself in your breath, but that can also look like using your windows to say to the world, like, this is a space, a physical space that holds a visual presence that says, like, we choose love, and we're willing to put ourselves out there and to offer like hope as a form of energy work. And to close our door to say, you know what, our time is much more, like our bodies and our presence is much more needed out on the street, saying a chant and holding a sign and being visible in our active resistance and our active hope and joy and connection and belief that we can grow.
Yeah.
How do we bring healing? And the things that we offer is one way,
Right.
but like, what do we do here?
Yeah.
What are the conversations that happen here?
Right.
What is making sure that we have a really safe space policy around, like, you are welcome here. We're gonna try. Jennie is so aware in her yoga training, and through the ways that she teaches us. She taught me how to be a yoga teacher. And making sure that we're using language that is invitational, that doesn't feel like we're giving commands, that sees every person and that is offered for every person, and where that can be a physical safe space to come to make yoga accessible.
Awesome. I'm psyched to hear your addition to that.
Yeah, I mean, Mea said it all really well. I think it's and I kind of just touched on it in talking about who I am, but I think, like, for the longest time, I've always had a fire in me that was that's like kind of a protective fire that feels like I've got work to do in the world, and people to help feel safer, and I want to feel safe, but I paused that for so long and thought, like, I really just want to feel safe in my body, and that's a whole universe on its own. And I struggled with addiction. I had a really bad eating disorder for a long time, but what I realized is, like, the more I did these practices like yoga and Reiki, and the deeper I would get into breath work and asana and meditation and all of those things, and really, like, learning the philosophy, because that's what it's about for me. It's not really about the postures, even though they're helpful and I love them. It's about the philosophy. And when I got to the guts of it, it was like, oh, like, I was already there, like, that, and maybe that angry teenager didn't have it, like, all figured out, but that, like, the guts of it was, like, I did all the searching and found kind of the same thing, that, like, if I really want to dive into the practice of yoga and the things that we do, like, for me, I don't actually have to do postures, and right now I'm struggling with some chronic illness that makes it kind of hard to do that. So I sit and meditate and I breathe, but, like, my yoga is, like, living my truth and, like, understanding my values, like, really understanding what nonviolence means in my body, in a room, in a conversation, in the world, like that's the guts of it. And if we don't have the time to go out into the streets and just say that, like, what's the point of doing all this meditating? Like, I don't, I could go sit on top of a mountain, meditate all day, and I would probably be a lot calmer. I wouldn't have, like, I would be pretty content, and I've done it for a little while, but I want to take what I gain there and apply it to the world and give it back. Like, and Mea and I think have both found, I don't want to speak for you, but that the ways we've recovered from the things that we struggle with are through giving what we've learned back.
Mm-hmm.
And if we stop giving it back, like I get back into the darkness, I get back into the sickness, and it's like I have to pull from my wounds and shine a light on them, and then hold a friend's hand while they shine a light on it. And if I don't do that, there was no purpose in all the hard work and all the self-discovery and all the sitting still and quiet and looking inward if I don't take what I found and put it back out there. And so that's the guts of it. Like we closed the store to go march. We're not doing yoga. We're doing yoga. It's just in a different place, and it's on the streets with other people.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
Just like the deep commitment to practice core values in all your relations and in all your activities.
Yeah.
And that it's not separate.
That's the center
what I'm
of it.
hearing.
It's not separate.
Yeah.
And we're
Right.
not perfect. I'm still nuts sometimes,
I do.
But it's a practice.
And I don't know you, so I'm talking about me.
It's an ongoing practice,
Yeah.
and it's changed radically for me from year to year and day to day. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I just go back a little bit in your story and ask a question about which I just felt drawn to, because a lot on Hive Lives, a bunch of what we talk about is healing and trauma and embodiment. And I really heard you sort of say like I don't know if it was a moment or a period where you thought, I have to get safe in my own body is I think what I heard you say.
Yeah.
And like I was just wondering if you could just talk a little bit about, maybe tell us a story about that or how you knew that, because I think when people have so many things happen to them, sometimes we don't even know that that's important or that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could speak to that a little bit in your own experience.
Yeah. I mean, this is a big topic, and everything I've talked about relates back to the fact that I also have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I have trauma in my life, or I had trauma, and for a long time it made it really so I couldn't really function, and I felt like I was really told that my body was something for other people, and I didn't feel like it was my own, I guess. And it didn't feel like a safe place at all. I wanted nothing to do with it. And it wasn't, for me, it wasn't like about, there was some gender stuff in there, I guess. I felt like I didn't feel very safe as a woman, but I've always felt like a woman. So for a long time, I just tried to, I kind of ran from everything that was really me and into oblivion. Like I just couldn't be here. I couldn't be here. Because if I was here, memories and feelings were so overwhelming. I couldn't hold it. It was like the amount of sadness in my body couldn't be contained. And I don't just mean like trauma that I've experienced in my own life. I mean like epigenetics. I mean I felt like I was tapping into a sadness that related to my own life, but that was bigger and deeper, and I couldn't get away from it.
Right, and when you say, just for folks who don't know what epigenetics is like a sadness that was deeper, is that it goes up a lineage that maybe perhaps that in the DNA sometimes trauma from our grandparents or great-grandparents can be imprinted and infused on our DNA and then passed forward. And can be with us right now. And potentially can be worked with if we have the right conditions and the right conscious, it's absolutely can be worked with. But it is that feeling of like, this is a lot, and it's actually bigger than me.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And it takes a long time to break down. And so the beginning for me was getting sober, because I didn't have the clarity to do any of the work or to even know what was traumatic in my life, what was mine, what was something else maybe from a long time ago. What did I have control over and what did I not have control over? What did I have to kind of accept as something that had happened and learn how to keep going on? And sometimes it's hard to not feel like a victim of things that have happened. But I like that whole movement of like, like sometimes I actually need that. Sometimes I need to recognize like I am a victim, and so there are repercussions to that. There are reasons why I might struggle more than another person in a certain situation, or I might be more scared walking down the street because I'm a survivor of sexual assault. But that's it. So that I'm a survivor, and then I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere until the universe is done. You know,
it sounds like you really made a commitment to being here.
Yeah, and
in a body that at some point you weren't so sure that you didn't know how to be here, because so many things had happened that you had to leave your body because it was so too much. It was sad, too scary, too terrifying, because certain things had happened.
Right.
And that is just like such the experience of what trauma does.
Yeah.
Is it's too much, and so we have to leave, and we each have our own journey with that.
Yeah, I'm still on the journey. Like I said, like it just started when I got sober. I was just able to say like, okay, this was traumatic, and maybe this was traumatic, and I'm working through it now. Like currently, I do EMDR. You know, I it's part of it is my yoga practice. Part of it is a 12-step practice and trauma work there, and but there's a lot of people who feel like that. And
sure are.
When you're open about it, it's interesting because I meet people all the time who are like, I feel the same way, and I had an eating disorder. That was part of my addiction, and it makes the work really powerful when it feels like it's saved you. Really, it feels like it saved my life. And how can I not like take that lens into it then? How can I not like want to help people feel a little bit safer in their bodies or in a room where everyone's moving and stretching, and I can't not teach from that lens, and I can't not like live from that lens because it's my own experience and I'm still living it. Yeah. Well, I think so many of us that are healers and teachers, it's like we are teaching and offering what we need the most still. Yeah.
You know, it's deep, and part of why we can be effective is because when we sit across from people, there's a deep knowing of like having walked a path that was either similar, or there was the capacity that touched certain places where it's just like there's that almost nonverbal implied like, you know, I'm with you because I feel you, and I know you because I have my own thing over here, and you know, and it's never going to be the same, but it certainly, it's like, it's medicine. Somebody who's walked the path and done a bunch of healing, it's like that medicine just by being present is such a gift.
I mean, I'm sure you both remember this, like the first moment where you had something so dark, or felt so dark and so deep, and you finally said like, this happened, and someone else said, to me too. Like that moment for me, like it's like, oh,
like you could breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's, I mean, I think so much of, like you were saying, like to experience something traumatic is to leave, and so in so many ways trauma can be isolating, and so by sharing our experiences, it's that reconnection. It's almost like an experience that both of us have had, even if it's traumatic, is a language, is a connection, which is healing.
Yeah.
It's coming out of isolation.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. I just want to acknowledge that. Yeah, for sure. And just to follow up on that, like, you know, like what's one way you're taking care of yourself in this time that can be so re-triggering, especially around if you're a survivor of sexual assault or sexual violence? Like, I don't know if that's a question you have, you know, would feel compelled to answer, but whenever anybody talks about it right now, I feel like living in I mean, not that we have not been living in violence against women and sexual violence, but it's been so heightened lately.
Yeah, all of my trauma mostly is around sexual assault and also homophobia and growing up as a queer person. And it's really triggering. And honestly, I felt like almost crippled in the beginning. Like, and yet, for me, what feels the best is to be around other people who are like, who are allies, and I need to be an ally to other, you know, marginalized groups, but to be around people, like I have a friend who's an activist, and she just I go to her, and one way that I'm caring for myself is I'm honest about what's going on. I talk about it. There's a quote that's like, lightness shared is lightness multiplied, and darkness shared is like darkness divided. And
so lightness shared is lightness multiplied. I just want to make sure people hear it. And darkness
shared is darkness divided. Yeah.
So do you know who said that?
No, I
okay.
don't.
Well, somebody will.
I love it. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Please remind me.
Somebody will like look it up right now and like post it.
It's so good.
Totally.
But yeah, I have this friend. She's an activist. She's a yoga teacher. She teaches yoga for bigger bodies, or art of awareness.
Is that Katie?
Yes, she's amazing.
Holla, Katie!
And Katie Bean. And
I just met her last weekend.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah.
She's one person that like I'll go to and talk to about the stuff that's going on currently. And she says one thing always, like, I hear you. I don't understand you completely, but I hear you, and I will fight for you in the streets no matter what. Like that's all it takes, and like it's beautiful. And I honestly, like, I feel safer, I feel better around those people, and I want like everyone to know that, like, my friends who are Muslim, my friends who are people of color, like, I will also fight for you in the streets, and I just want to keep finding each other, because that feels like the most self-care I can do, and at the same time it's just yeah.
Thank you. That's so well said, and so articulate and so clear. Yeah. And it's so much about connecting with people that are not only safe, but are saying, I'm with you and I'm going to fight for you. And that reciprocity of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Solidarity.
Yep. That's what I need right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to answer that question too? One way you're taking care of yourself within this moment?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think Jenny said so much.
So much.
Which is so good. Like,
I can ask you a different question.
Oh, I mean,
like, I want, just like, see if you had anything.
I'm just like holding this whole conversation, and everything comes back to me, to being present, to witnessing, and to, I mean, like, we talk about, like, I have to come here before I can share, but like, coming here in a culture that tells you to deny who you are, in a culture that tells you to be afraid, in a culture that tells you you're not good enough unless you buy X, Y, or Z, like, being present in your body is where it is one of the most radical things we can do. And right, and like to be like, no, I don't need to buy that thing, or no, like, I don't need to go buy gendered pronouns, or no, I can listen to how I feel. And I think that's we're in this time that one of the things that's really difficult for me is, like, there's a lot of like cultural gaslighting going on in terms of, like, you shouldn't feel this way, or like the word love is being used in really different ways.
Can you just say, like, for folks who don't know what gaslighting is, like, cultural gaslighting?
Yeah, it's about changing your truth. It's about, like, I know on the inside, this is the way this is. And somebody who stands to gain something, whether that's taking your power, or that, I mean, it all comes down to taking your power, but, is going to try to alter your relationship to your own truth by using their power. That's my understanding.
An example of it is
somebody saying something, I'm trying to think.
There's some good Trump ones.
Right, I know. I'm like,
Trump saying that someone was going to mess with the election and then messing with the election. Like,
right? Yeah. Or, how many people were at his inauguration?
Yeah.
Like, you've got I'm looking at a picture. The mall is half empty.
Yeah.
And he's saying, oh, no. The media is lying to you. It was full.
Right.
Like, that's cultural
breaking
gaslighting.
Down your own sense of, like, sanity and self.
You'd be like, well, wait, I think I saw that picture.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure I had a friend who was there, and they told me it was
actively
empty.
distorting reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
For their gain.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. That's helpful. This is good, because we haven't talked about this, but it's such a part of trauma.
Yeah.
And it's such a part of healing, because often trauma, you have all these distorted stories that we're told about what happened, and sometimes healing is about, first of all, listening to your body and your being and letting the truth arise of your own experience. And then hopefully you get to, maybe if it's helpful, you get to a place of being able to speak your own narrative and your own story about what happened.
Yes. Exactly. And that's the part that's really been landing for me, is like, how do I feel? And learning to trust that as an actual guidepost to get through something. And I've dissociated since the age of 12. So,
which means
that I leave my body cognitively.
Okay, so like, what do you mean you leave your body? Like, do you mind? I mean, I know what it means, but like, I just think for people who don't know, like,
absolutely.
So it means like, so what happens? Where do you go? Like, how does that?
Right. So for me, my body has a really brilliant protection mechanism where if my feelings get too big, or if I get to a place where my little internal compass is telling me, hey, something really isn't safe. For me, growing up, to stay in my body would have made for too much distress to be able to deal with things that were happening to me. And so there's this really brilliant adaptive mechanism that says, okay, you can't change where you are, what's happening to you right now, but you can change whether you feel it or consciously experience it. And so my body learned young to say, peace out.
Peace out.
I'm gonna experience this from over here.
Yeah.
So I have memories that I know happen to me, but I see them as if I'm hovering above the ceiling.
Right, like literally.
Yeah, just
like sort
out.
of left your body.
Totally out.
Yeah. Which is, like you said, a really incredible protective mechanism.
It's brilliant.
When there's too much overwhelm and distress.
Exactly. So as an adult, my body's learned to do that about, things where I really need to stay present. So getting pulled over by a police officer. I could never figure out before I had a language for dissociation why any time that was really stressful for me, like performing in a job interview or getting pulled over or using a gendered bathroom, I would start to feel like I was in an altered state. Almost like I was drunk, but not really. Like I didn't have the kind of alert consciousness that I was used to.
Yeah, like you didn't quite feel here.
I didn't feel here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sort of went somewhere, it was altered.
Exactly.
Which makes it a lot more difficult to navigate.
Right, when you need to think on your toes, like, am I safe in this situation with this police officer who's seeing my ID that says female on it? Or...
I do.
Right? Or like, how do you think you're going to perform in this job? And you're like...
Yeah.
Like, it's not helpful.
No.
And so...
no, it was helpful, but it's not helpful now.
It was helpful then. It was very helpful as a small child with no ability to change something. As an adult, my learning has been about... the phrase I've been using is, I have embodied wisdom.
That's awesome. we have embodied wisdom.
We have embodied wisdom, and how, like, I can functionally be more effective at the things that I need to do, whether that's am I safe in this moment, or whether that's advocating on a personal or a political level for, hey, this isn't right. It's the center of my body that's going to tell me that, and staying present is going to help me be more effective. And so it's both important for the work that I'm doing, and it's how I nourish myself is by learning to cultivate hearing that voice and believing it. Because like you were saying, trauma changes your narrative. It's more painful to believe that somebody else is doing something for no reason than it is to believe that was my fault.
Yeah.
Like somewhere there, I'm like, well, at least there's reason in the world, But so learning to feel like this isn't right, or I'm uncomfortable, or I'm sad. I've been practicing naming my feelings.
That's amazing. I know, right? People think it's super hokey, but there's like a reclamation there for so many of us that maybe didn't have a chance to, or wasn't safe to, or the conditions weren't right.
Well, when you're talking about like self-care, like I feel like
just speak up a little bit.
Sorry, when you're talking about self-care, like I feel like that phrase like is so different for each person.
Yeah. And
it doesn't necessarily mean like, okay, I'm gonna meditate every day, or I'm gonna take a bubble bath every day. Like, what is self?
Right.
If you can like really tune in, like Mea's saying, and listen, then it's gonna be something different from moment to moment. And you have to find that center to even figure out what that is.
Yeah, and that can be a practice. Like that's like a practice every day. And some days it's easier than other days, right?
Right. And that's still listening. Yeah. Like, hey, like I need to be just super gentle today. It's it's that One
thing I want to, because you guys are both very out about, addiction and sobriety, like we're talking about trauma, we're talking about disassociation, we're talking about healing, and like, addiction has played a role in your life, and like, so within your own trauma, was addiction connected to that?
I think what I've learned is that there's different things that play into addiction, and I believe that this is true for me. It's genetic. Trauma very often plays a role, about 80% of the time, according to recent studies. And then there's the addictiveness of the substance that you're using. So for me, my birth name means pirate. I come from a long line of people who lived on ships and stole and drank rum, and like that's what they did.
For real?
Yes, for real.
Whoa!
It's like in my genes, and I feel like I could feel it in my genes from a really, like from an early age. My whole family struggles with addiction and alcoholism. There are some that don't, and I don't know how that happened or where they came from, but it is in my DNA, and I feel that. But it's a certain recipe, and I think that the trauma kind of turned it on. Maybe a lot younger than it could have happened without the trauma. Maybe I would have my drugs were mostly alcohol and cocaine. Maybe that would have, I would have come to age 50 and then realized I had a problem. But for me, at age 25, I got sober. And I think that I had so much trauma that I couldn't handle that I had to hide. And so I drank, massive amounts of alcohol so that I wouldn't feel anything, and got to a dark, dark place very quickly and at a young age. So yes, I think trauma plays a huge role in addiction, but I do think that there are other factors as well.
Yeah, that was really clear. You want to add anything to that?
No, I completely agree. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that for me, and alcohol was my primary, thing that I got sober from. But for me, alcohol was a conscious way to recreationally dissociate. With friends. Right. And it started with friends, and so just like dissociation for me, it started as something that made my pain less, and then it became something that made my life significantly harder to navigate, and that was actually generating new unsafe situations for me. So I completely agree with Jenny, and that like when I stopped stopping my feelings, then all my trauma work came up. So they're so connected.
Yeah.
Well, when you're using a substance to try and escape, it's like, what are you escaping from?
Totally. Yeah, and once you put it down, then the feelings start to come up.
Then you find out what you were running from.
Exactly.
Yep.
I have this really quick funny story.
Yeah.
Because
people love funny stories on Hive Live.
Part of my addiction was also exercise, and I was pretty severely bulimic. And before I realized that I had a problem with drugs and alcohol, I realized that I had a problem with exercise because I was running my body into the ground. And there was this one day, and I was living in Minneapolis, and I was going for a run and running, always running. And I ran by this group of hipsters on a stoop. And they said, "What are you running from?" And I stopped, and I was like, "What am I running from? What's going on?" I had this huge existential crisis on the sidewalk.
The hipsters in Minneapolis.
It's thank you for that. Walked home, but slow down, dude.
Wow, that's deep.
And
hilarious.
Yeah, I think we all do it to some degree, and not to minimize addiction, because addiction is a serious and deadly disease, especially in our state. But to some degree, we run, and when we stop and we stay still and we sit and we it all it's revealed to us. What are we running from?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, and we're lucky in the state, even though there is very serious addiction problem in Maine. We also have a lot of amazing support with 12-step programs that are very healthy, very vibrant, have been around for a long time. There's an amazing, holistic health. I mean, we probably need more mental health access.
Yes.
Things have been getting cut, so I know that that's a real problem. And then, of course, the basic needs of people, homelessness and food security, obviously, are significant issues too that are intersecting with addiction.
Yep.
Very much.
That reminds me of something that we want to let people know that we're going to do here. We're having some classes will be donation classes.
Oh, great.
And the donations will be going to different recovery organizations.
That's awesome.
Milestone Foundation, Operation Hope.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. That's so good. Will you have a yoga class for sobriety or anything? People who are in recovery?
Yeah, I think the community donation classes will mostly be that, but other people are welcome as well.
Nice.
Yeah,
we might be
but we
bringing
might be
in
adding on more and more as they come along. Oh, right,
Stephanie.
Yes,
Stephanie.
we also have a friend who's gonna do a very recovery specific class.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I think that's so helpful.
There's also the PRCC that has yoga and Reiki and all kinds of...
What is the PRCC?
It's the Portland Recovery Community Center.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
Really
Great.
awesome resource for people who are in recovery, and they absolutely support the healing arts in a huge way and make them very accessible to people. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And going back to like, how do we use this space for the highest good? Like, we want to be doing that. We want to be looking at like, this is a community space. So how do we, like, I'm really interested in organizing a Reiki clinic. So, I have so many student practitioners who have trained here who are so talented at what they do, and they want to give back and hone their craft. And so looking at like, how do we like meet that economic need? How do we do community classes? How do we do Reiki clinics? How do we like open this up as wide as it can go for as many people as can come here to learn how to come here? That's the whole idea.
What's one way you'd really like support right now as sort of new business owners? Like, what's one thing that would be really helpful from the community?
Getting the word out.
Yeah, just talk about it.
Who we are.
Yep.
Making sure people know that we are a queer-owned business, that we are a business owned by two people in recovery. We are a business owned by, two people born in Maine and who grew up in poverty and who are trying to change our lives and to change, maybe some stuff that was generational. And this is, I think, this is a big part of our chance to do that. Getting the word out that we're here, we're in the Old Port, we're doing this work.
And come to class.
Come to class.
Come to class, come get a treatment. For yoga classes, we're doing a drop-in rate, but all of our passes are sliding scale. So we're trying to make this stuff accessible.
Right.
And there's, even just stopping by and visiting us and saying hello, getting people into this space and getting the energy moving, is important too.
Every time some people come here, they say, this is amazing, how long have you been here? That's like, and this space as a space has been here 4.5 years. Yeah. And so what's happened here is something beautiful has been built, and now we just need to fill it with people.
Yes.
And as soon as people come in, they're amazed at the energy, at how good they feel here, and that's the stuff that like nourishes my spirit, is people finding out like about this thing that we love so much and sharing in that love and enjoying it. And that's the number one thing we need is like, we've built the container.
Yeah.
And now it's really just about letting people access it, enjoy it, benefit from it, connect to it, and be, because this is truly like, when we decided to do this, we wanted to do this for our community.
It's so beautiful.
And we also want like other healers to know that we are building this space in hopes that people will bring their crafts here as well, host workshops.
Okay, so you'll be able to do a workshop.
Yeah, we have workshop space.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's such a need here in Portland. So rentals for that, hosting of that.
Oh my gosh, there's so many talented practitioners here
Oh my God,
so
it's
many
endless.
modalities.
It's amazing. Yeah, there's so much medicine.
Incredible.
Well, I think the thing that like strikes me the most, which is the thing that's on their window, is like this thing that says love always wins. And I think as business owners, you all are you're really like modeling what is possible, and you're really just at the beginning, which is so exciting. And to me, this is evolution, right? This is like presencing love in all the different ways you're thinking, how you do things, and I just want to say, I was really struck when you said you're two people from Maine and you're two people that grew up in poverty. And I just want to, like, if it's okay, I just want to pause on that point and say thank you for sharing that. That's, it just has so much around it, right? Poverty, and people have so much judgment, and there's so much shame and all sorts of things. Not to say that you have it, but just that I want to say, like, and the healing arts, historically, and well, maybe not indigenously, it's been for all people, but more in the past 50 years, it feels like healing arts is only for some people.
Yes.
And I just want to say, like, you kind of sharing the piece of the different places that you come from, whether it's sobriety or poverty or Maine or all the other places you come from, like, just that is such a transformational energy to come from, and to say, like, you're clearly saying, no, this is for everybody.
Yes.
And you know that in a way, like, that's in your bones.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but I just really appreciate you sort of sharing that piece.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I grew up not having access to healthcare. I grew up, like Jenny said, in poverty. I grew up volunteering to fill bags of bulk items at my local co-op because I was trained that food is medicine, and that, you know, in order to do that, like, there are other forms of currency. Your energy and your community and your involvement is currency, and food will keep you healthy. I grew up doing muscle testing for homeopathics instead of going to the doctor because that's what we could afford.
That's real.
It's real. And so, you know, I basically grew up in a modern and financially dictated, like, eclectic movement. You know, I would, when I got sick, I was taken to a woman named Charlotte Ritter, who was a polarity therapist.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And, you know, because she could trade and she could barter, and this stuff is, like you said, like, in our bones. Like, we both grew up not having access to traditional medicine, and so we needed to rely on genuine traditional medicine,
like
herbs, and healing touch, and midwives. From the beginning, my first breath was in the holistic movement.
My family didn't do as much
have
stuff around that, but I grew up with a strong sense of spirituality, and it was, and there was that part. My family was poor and didn't have access to healthcare either, but didn't know a lot about the healing arts, I think. But we did. My mom really focused on eating healthy and food as medicine, so I learned that from a young age. But one thing that I want to say is that something she taught me was that even though we were really poor, I came from a huge family, she taught me from the time I was a child that I could do absolutely anything. And I think, like, sometimes it's like there are roadblocks when you're in marginalized groups, when you're poor, when you're, you know, there are things that will come up that will make things harder. But I kind of want people to remember that no matter what, you can still do absolutely anything that you want to do. And Mea and I have found that, like, that's absolutely possible, but we did it with the help of our community. Like, we would not be here if it weren't for the Opportunity Alliance, if it weren't for family and friends who helped us raise money to do this, if it weren't for, like, tons of support from our community. But all we had to do was ask and to say, like, we love each other, we love this work, we want to do it, how can we do it? And the support and the love came. So, like, I didn't have a lot of money, but I had a lot of faith. and I knew that if I wanted to do something, then I could do it.
There's a lot of money in faith, like a lot of spiritual money. Like, faith goes a long way.
Right. And there's currency in community.
Yeah.
Like,
well said.
Coming together, like, we made this yoga studio in 4 days with primarily all volunteer.
You want to say,
like,
thank you to them?
Thank
you so much. It was
come do yoga with us for as long as you want.
My dad showed up, you know, and my dad, like, busted down that wall with our friend John, you know.
Oh my God, the recovery community.
We had people,
sober people pouring in here saying, what can we do? We are so proud of you two. Like,
wow.
They're like, you know, our friend Ryan is, like, live tweeting the whole thing. And people are like, it was just love in action. And, you know, when we got married, it was love in action, and it was a community process. And our, you know, Love Always Wins was, like, what got us through that process, because, you know, not all our families, you know, like, there were parts of our families that weren't supportive, and we were, you know, trying to figure that out. And so it was Love Always Wins as a personal mantra, and then, like, seeing our community come together and be like, you can do this, and then saying, like, no, like, on every scale, love always wins, and that our community can come together with our hearts and connect, and we can do greater things than those who would oppress us.
This is the future of the planet.
It's a universal law. Like, love always wins, and we've both seen it, and it like it will continue to happen. It's a law of the universe.
Yeah. And you guys are holding it down here, and this is the point of light right here, right now, on a planet that has a lot of light and a lot of darkness. and you're putting your full faith in it. And I can't think of like much better medicine than that, you know? So, I mean, I'm so grateful like we have this time together tonight, that everybody gets to join us. Look at all the sweet little likes again. Just people who are happy and watching hearts. Because this is it. I mean, it's like this is what is going to continue to come forth from all the pushback, all the dark, all the repression, all the contraction, all the trauma, right? And like you guys are, I feel like you guys are like this portal. You know, you're sort of like you're helping to lead the way, in my opinion.
You
so
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's Hive Live, this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
We're just like we're sort of saying, no, we're gonna make our own narrative.
Yes.
There's amazing things that are happening.
Yes.
Healing is possible.
Yes.
You know, more connection, less isolation.
Yes.
You know, and then looking at privilege and looking at the places where maybe we haven't looked at before, and how do we rethink our Constitution so that it includes everybody, and so that there's equity, so that we move toward justice. And like you can pick a store and you can do that. You can pick a practice, you can do that. You can make a home, you can make a neighborhood and do that, right? Like all these principles
Yes.
are.
It goes in and then it goes back out. Like
Yeah.
you can do this work everywhere and anywhere.
That's right. It doesn't have to be a certain thing. It's about how we do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you guys are just, it's just so awesome. I'm going to post some pictures for folks to see. We're going to wrap up. Is there any last thing you want to leave people with? I mean, we've said so much.
So grateful for this. This conversation just like charged up my batteries. I feel pumped to keep doing this work.
Yeah. Just thank you, and thank you for connecting, because that's what it's all about.
That's
like,
right.
At a fundamental level, it's right. How do we walk this hand in hand?
Mm-hmm. And everybody, it's like medicine for the masses, holistic health for the masses. Like it's possible. We just have to like step back and kind of, rethink how we're doing it. Because it's not, there's not as much scarcity as we think there is. And there is, it's like I don't want to reduce that part, but there's just, if we can tap into the other resources we have, there's so much community, love, and you guys are doing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. We love you. Take good care. Let's see, what else we want to say? I'm hoping to do one more Hive Live this week. Just check the schedule, really. I'm not really sure. I'll be traveling in the next couple of days. I'm not sure what else I want to say. Just like stay strong, stay sane, do something gentle or something nourishing for yourself tonight. Take good care.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you. No,
all right.
good night.
Peace out, y'all. Look at all the sweethearts.